This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. This is something that is holding many of us back, but we have no idea that it really is. And it almost sounds like it's almost far-fetched. Like, how could that even be a problem for a lot of us, or a challenge? But it is, and it's one word: deserving. Many of us feel that we are not deserving or deserve what comes our way. And many times it doesn't, because we've put that out there, we've derailed it because we don't feel that we are deserving. We're going to talk about that today, see what we can do to look at that in a different way. And she's somebody that offers psychotherapy and guidance for many. She's the woman behind Pressman Associates out of New Jersey. She is Miriam Rosario, and she's back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I've struggled with this deserving thing.
Yeah.
Does this go back to what we talked about a while ago, in that many of us feel that and as I understand it, it's a feeling that's in all of us in some shape and form, that we're not good enough. It comes from childhood. You're not good enough.
hmm
And they're kind of that maybe points to the deserving thing. Do you think that's what's going on there as well?
I think so. I think so. I think that if our parents were healthy mentally, then they would be able to then instill in us that we are deserving of whatever it is that we need. But we're not always fortunate with that. I think that it's this generation that has much more of that type of thinking than our parents' generation.
Mm. I want to go to another word, guilt. And I kind of struggle with the difference between guilt and deserving. Can we lay those out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the guilt will come from, someone who feels that they're not worthy of whatever it is that they want. And if there is some of it, then we feel guilty for asking for it or for taking it because we need to make sure that there's enough for everybody else.
I want to go to basics here too. What does deserving really mean?
Well, I think deserving means that when you work for something and you want it and you put the effort in it, then absolutely it's important to get what the outcome is, that you deserve that,
Hmm.
because you've put the effort into it. And it comes down to self-worth.
I'm seeing a lot of this word going around, and I personally feel that it's at a high level lately. Entitlement. Many of us feel that we're entitled to certain things. Um, the difference between deserving and entitlement, how do we look at that?
So, deserving means that we put an effort into it, and that we understand that because we put the effort in and the responsibility, then we earn it, right? So it's sort of a repeat what I've said. The unhealthy, like entitlement, is the unhealthy deserving. So the entitlement would be, well, I deserve this. The universe owes me because I'm
Mm,
special. I don't need to put in the effort for any of it. I should just get it.
mm. And I would also think too, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but if you've been through some things, like life has been challenging for me, insert all the words you want to throw in there. I should have this. I should have it coming my way.
hmm
Maybe, but maybe not.
Right.
Hmm. The worthy thing that we mentioned before, that many of us have that, or if not all of us to some degree, that we're not good enough. Why do we struggle with that? Where's that come from?
I think it's embedded from childhood.
Hmm.
I think it's that, and I think it's constantly hearing, if it's not from childhood, from our caregivers or from people that are our mentors or people that are older than us constantly saying, that you don't deserve this. Like, you don't, you're not owed this. You don't deserve it. And so we begin to believe it, right? Because if you say something over and over again and that's all that you're exposed to and you're hearing it, then you begin to believe it.
I see something in a different light because of this conversation with you today, Miriam. And that is, let's talk about money. So I have friends that I believe they have a belief that they shouldn't have abundance. And I think it goes back to when parents say, but be careful. Money doesn't grow on trees. No, no, save your money. Don't, no, not, why'd you buy that? No, 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 no. And then pair that with maybe relationships. Maybe you've been married and, your spouse had a thing about money and then you had a certain feeling about it. But I believe that belief is put in us from those situations, and they can even go back to childhood where I never thought of it as you feel that you don't deserve it now. You don't deserve to have money or more money to buy things, or maybe you're just getting by. It seems like you may not deserve it. You feel like you may not deserve it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And for your friends who have abundance in cash and feel like they don't deserve it, tell them to feel free to send me some.
We'll give our email addresses after this. You can, if you want to ACH it, that's fine too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But yes, and I think I agree with what you say. And the one thing that you didn't mention that it comes from as well is religious beliefs.
Ooh, okay.
Because I feel that religion puts a lot of emphasis on how um, the God is always with the poor. And they talk about the rich and the stories and the parables that they have, and how some of the rich are, just righteous and sinners. And
Whoa, I never thought of it that
yes,
way. The perception of
yes,
somebody, call it rich, how they're evil.
right,
Yeah. On the flip side of that, though, some religions, donate, give certain percentage of what you have, and some believe because it comes back to you
right.
tenfold or fivefold. Doesn't mean that's the reason you should do it, but if you give, you get. I mean, you could look at it all different ways
Right,
there. How do
right.
you how do you how do you flip the whole mindset of this to feel that when you do deserve it, you deserve it, but
Hmm.
you don't practice it. How do we change the mindset?
Well, first you got to recognize the pattern, and then understand, whether what you're expecting is something that is without effort or fairness. And then notice what it is that you think about that. So, do I deserve this because I'm special, or do I deserve this because I'm committed and I'm putting in the effort for what the outcome is, right? And then you have to reframe your belief. So if it's unhealthy, and the belief would be, that the world owes me, which is what you said. And if it's healthy, then you want to make it so that the unhealthy becomes the healthy, that I am worthy of good things, and I will take the steps to create them. And then add affirmations in there. So my worth is inherited and the actions reflect my values. So then from there, you want to shift from the comparison to self-alignment. And that would be, to stop measuring against others, right?
Mm. That's a
And
big one right there.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and
I
replace.
learned this phrase this year. Comparison steals joy.
Yes.
And it's so easy to do that with social media, with everything you look at, even if it's not friends, you look at celebrities and what they have and how they look and all of that. And all it does is just suck the life out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do you get past, let's say you grew up with not a lot. Um, it was a challenge. Your parents were always struggling. Now you've got that mindset. Now you're piloting with that. Really, really, really good chance that you don't have a great relationship with money.
Hmm.
And and also look at this generations back, depression. Talk about grandparents, great grandparents, how they came from that. So they count every penny. They hold on to everything. They're very careful about their money because of that. How do you break out of that? If you feel like, no, this is not me, but I'm stuck in this, vortex, how do you get out of that?
Well, that goes to shifting your belief system, to shifting the patterns of what happens. So it would be recognizing the reason why you have the belief and then working on changing that. So transitioning it into a healthier one. So yes, that in our past that we had trouble with finances, but moving forward and looking at everything, most people that come from that generation are very good savers, so they have
Mm.
enough. They've learned to make sure that they put some money aside and are responsible for whatever bills they may have or all of the expenses that they have. So it's
Mm.
it's really working on shifting your mind to understanding that those times are not today. You have to be present to what is happening.
Wow.
Hmm.
We always talk about being present. If there is ever a reason for that, there it is.
Hmm.
Because you're living in the past
Right.
of what was, the Great Depression, let's say if you're that person. But then again, I grew up making my own toys, single mom. But that was the greatest thing. Had one little toy, I would turn into another one, make a cape on an army man, piece of thread, deploy him from the stairs down. All good, but I will say this: there were times over years where I would worry about money, and at the time, I didn't. There wasn't a reason to. It wasn't like
Yeah.
DEFCON 4 finances, but I would worry about it, and I would say, well, what if this goes away or that goes away? How am I going to support my family? Oh my gosh, da, 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 da. I'm going to say right here, I regret it. I regret
Yeah.
worrying about it because, and my mother always used to say this: it'll all work out. And guess
Hmm.
what? It always does, at least so far, and I I,
Yes.
I trust it will continue to. Um, but that came from my upbringing, or
Yeah.
my conditions,
Hmm.
whatever. Hmm.
I mean, and of course, I'm going to say this, but therapy is always helpful
100 billion%.
because it helps you process through those memories and through those thought patterns, to help understand and build self-worth
Yeah.
and
Yep.
ground yourself in that. So,
Well, I wasn't courageous enough back then to have therapy, so
yeah.
now, now I run to you.
Yeah.
Totally different. Um, how do you? I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, and it was hard for me to answer it. And there's many different ways to, and we're pivoting a little bit here, but it all ties into what we're talking about. How do you change the neural pathways in our brains? How do you, lack of a better description, rewire things for the direction you want to go in using therapy? I always try to figure that out, even if somebody does different modalities to get that done. How is that happening within the brain?
Well, what happens is where we start to change our beliefs is we have an emotion, right? And we don't understand what that emotion is. When you're in therapy, you begin to talk about what that emotion is. And once you talk about what that emotion is, it shifts from the back part of our brain to the front part of our brain where we can understand it, where we can name it, and then we can work on the changes there. So once it's there, it's working on understanding, well, when did that thought first occur? When do you remember the first time ever thinking that? And what was happening then
Hmm.
versus what is happening now, and what is triggering that today? And then working on that. So, talk therapy is helpful.
Hmm.
Hypnotherapy is helpful in
Sure.
changing the belief patterns. You can also do the EFT tapping and and EMDR as well. Um, but
All
to
those things, by the way, in that conversation I had with somebody last night and somebody very close who's been struggling for a long time, all those modalities came up. You know,
that's
we talked about all of them. And I will say, hypnotherapy was great for me. For this person, it wasn't.
hmm
Um, and I even suggested the hypnotherapist to them. This is going back a couple of years, but I already know why. They weren't open to it. I know
yeah,
their personality. They weren't open to allowing it to happen. They're still kind of closed. Now they're more open to it. And in my opinion, they need to broaden that even more. But it takes
right.
time, you know,
It does.
and you said something and I always forget about it, naming it, naming the
hmm
feeling and or emotion. It's big, right?
It is. It's very big because that's where our understanding comes from. And a lot too of the mind shifting when you're in therapy really depends on the relationship that you have with the therapist and how safe and comfortable you feel.
Well, absolutely. Nothing's going
hmm
to happen unless you feel like you're connected to that person that's helping you out. You know, it's a
Right.
relationship. And an intimate one too at that, you know. There's
hmm
a lot of stuff you reveal and go through and talk about. Um, Gratitude also, we've talked about that before,
hmm
but in terms of you feeling like you deserve something or want to have those feelings, how does gratitude come into play with that?
Feeling very thankful for what you already have and acknowledging what you have and how far you've come and how you've
Mm,
gotten the things that you have and deserving those things as well. But really just being thankful of the things that we have because once we can recognize what we have accomplished, then it's easier and it's
mm.
positive. It falls along with affirmations.
I don't want to say that a lot of times we take things for granted. We do. I don't want to
hmm
say it, but we do. But when you pay attention to the little things, and where am I going with this? This is like ridiculous. But the other day, I'm walking through my living room, and uh, one of the cats threw a toy underneath this like little entertainment area, and I bought it maybe I don't know 3 years ago. And I stopped for a second and I looked at it, and it wasn't pricey, you know, like $400 or whatever it is. I looked at it and I'm like, you know, that's a really nice piece, and I'm kind of proud of, you know, I found that. I was kind of in a rush when I was moving at the time, and I felt this overwhelming feeling of like, wow, good for you. It's a nice little, you know, I like the way that looks there. You know, do I like everything? Not the same, but it was like, and I felt this gratitude for this, you know, piece of wood.
Yes,
But it was,
right,
I reframed it for that moment. Like, and we go through life not looking at things. We just do life as opposed
right.
to just taking a look around and say, you know what? This is actually all right. You pulled that off. You did a great job with that. You earned it and all of that. We don't take the time to do that, do we?
No, not enough. I mean, we need to make it intentional
Mm,
to do that because if we get so stuck into what we don't have, we forget about what we do have. And that's where the gratitude comes in.
yeah.
So, we may not have the finances that we want at the moment, but we have money. We're paying whatever it is that we need to pay. And, we're surviving or we're having a good time. We're waking up in the morning. We're able to breathe. Our body just works, you know?
Have you found this once you start the practice of gratitude and shifting your mindset and your beliefs, you could be having a crummy day. Just, yeah, that's why you got up tired, whatever, things happen. And you could just turn your head that way and think of like a positive thought. It could be even what you're doing tonight, what you're having for dinner, just a happy thought, like, you know, things are okay after all.
hmm
Wow. But it happens like that, where it may take you hours, if not days, to get out of that funk,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Once you start practicing this, I know it's a little woo here, but it makes a difference.
right. It does. It does make a huge difference. And one of the techniques that I use in hypnotherapy is
Mm.
being able to get a memory. Like if you're feeling anxious, right? And it's overwhelming for you, going back to a memory where you felt very strong and you weren't anxious and you felt competent, and really getting into that memory and that energy and then bringing that energy to the present, like anchoring it within you.
Mm.
And then when we talk about it, it's amazing because I see the facial expression physically change.
I don't know if this is scientific. I don't know if you've ever heard this before. It's exactly what you said. They call it the 17-second rule, where that thought, maybe it was you were on vacation last year or 5 years ago, whatever, happy moment in your life, whatever that moment was. Think of the feeling, hold that feeling for 17 seconds, and then use that feeling in other situations.
Hmm.
I don't know why it's 17 seconds. There's some kind of science behind it. Way out of my wheelhouse. Um, but they say you got to hold it for that long. But I agree with it 100%. And
Hmm.
I think I might have shared. I committed to myself to go away solo for the first time ever in my life, and I did it this summer. And I actually did it twice, same place, like 3 4 months apart. It was peace.
Yeah.
It was peace. And I go back to it. I see myself sitting on the chair looking at the ocean. I go
Hmm.
back to it and it's just like, yeah, that was good. And then just try and push that feeling onto other things. Works for me. It's exactly what you just said.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's helpful to just dance because who is upset when you're dancing?
It's a really great point. And to even push that even further, movement.
Hmm.
To move things through your body. Because if you want to look at it in terms of energy, we got stuck energy from emotions or all this stuff, and that energy could be stuck from a decade or three ago. Um, Moving it moves it away or out of your body. So 100, maybe that's why it works. The dancing thing.
Yeah.
There's been some. I usually clean on Saturdays. I sometimes put on some music and I just move around. It makes it fun.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing quite like that experience.
Right.
You
And
clean
you
in,
know
you
what?
have a good music and there's a rhythm. You have endorphins flying out.
Totally. And then you turn around and say, "Oh my God, I'm done. That was quick." I didn't even
Hmm.
realize it. Whereby maybe before you're like, I got to mop, I got to vacuum, I got to clean, kitty litter. Uh, Great conversation. This is like the things that people think about but don't talk about unless you connect with a therapist. How do we connect with you?
You can go to www.pippna.com or you can call 856-548-9557.
We deserve.
That's
We
right.
deserve. Yeah. And even if you want to take that, during your day, I deserve fill in the blank.
That's right.
And be happy to add things in there. Thank you for today. I appreciate it. And we'll talk soon. Okay.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.